Stand by, it gets foolisher and foolisher. Our next teller likes to tell stories of interaction between people and not so people. The tailor and the hare woman, that's H-A-R-E woman, is from an anthology of Irish folktales by Bob Curran. Here is Anita Harms.
Hares are very much like rabbits, except in Ireland they are considered shapeshifters, and they are known to crisscross across the fields as they run. And they also form circles as if having a conversation. There was a tailor who lived in the county Sligo, and he came down to work near a village at Cool. And he met up with an old farmer and his young wife so that he could provide or have them provide lodgings for him and food. Now, the woman was very pretty, but she had a wicked look about her. So he went up to the county Sligo to get his belongings and his sewing materials, and he came down, and by then the old farmer had died. Now, the woman was still there, and she was willing to accommodate him with food and lodgings, and her voice was gentle, but her eyes were hard. He agreed, and he stayed there, and she was as good as her word. She even brought him breakfast in bed. So he was sorry that he had doubted her. But one morning he woke up, and it was sunny when he heard water splashing and wondered what was going on downstairs. This happened morning after morning, and each time the woman came up with breakfast as if she had just risen. Finally, one morning he could stand it no longer, so he went downstairs very stealthily from the bedroom to see what she was doing. Why, she was readying for her bath, and she was peeling off her clothes. So he turned to go back upstairs, and there was a flash and a puff of smoke, and he turned around, and the woman had turned into a hare. She had gone into the enchanted water and come out a hare, and gone past the kitchen door, past the garden gate, and she was crisscrossing across the field as she went until she disappeared. But he was dumbstruck, frightened, but he had sewing jobs, and so he was curious too. But he went back up to bed and climbed into bed and pulled the covers over him, very frightened. And she still came up with breakfast as before. Now the next morning, he heard that splashing again, and he went out the door of his bedroom, and he went down the stairs, and there he saw her readying for a bath, peeling off her clothes, jumping into the water, turning into a hare, and going past the kitchen door, past the garden gate. So he too decided that he would jump into the water after peeling off his clothes, and there was a flash and a puff of smoke, and he too had turned into a hare, gone past the kitchen door, past the garden gate, and he was following her close behind, over hills, through hedges, down ditches, until they came to the bottom of the hill at Bailey Townland. Now the woman went up the hill, and he went up after her, and at the very top of the hill was a circle of hares, the kind of sorcerers that do evil things, like suck milk from cattle or smother people in their sleep. He saw the hare woman join, and then he joined too. There were big ones, there were small ones. There were ones with gray hair, black hair, patches on their back, some with only one ear, and they were all in a circle. And a great big buck hare spoke up. Go home. We can do no evil spills here, because there's a stranger among us. And they all turned and they all looked at him. And the hare woman yelled out a shriek, and she started running after him. And they ran down the hill, through hedges, down ditches, up hills, until he saw the garden gate. He ran through the garden gate, past the kitchen door, jumped into the enchanted water, turned back into himself, threw on his clothes, and started running up the stairs until he got into his bedroom and shut the door. But she too jumped into the water, turned back into herself, threw on her clothes, grabbed a kitchen knife, and went running up the stairs and started banging on the door, yelling terrible oaths. He was frightened, so he went back to the end of his room, dropped down into the yard, and started running as fast as he could. Why, he even left some cloth pieces behind. But he would not go back because he wanted nothing more to do with those in the dark arts. He never did hear what happened to her after she banged down the door, but he went up to the county Sligo to work again. And one night when he was working at a house, he leaned over a lamp to do his sewing, and a child cried out, "What's that on the back of your neck?" So he felt back there. It was hare fur, the part that the magic water hadn't touched. So ever since then, he put on a scarf, even in the warmest weather. So if you ever hear of a man wearing a scarf on a summer's day, or a woman splashing in her bath before daylight, you'll know my story is true. Thank you, peace and rise for the sea.